Hey Toy fans, I'm D21 Beast, and welcome to my brand new show, our brand new show, where we talk about the news and geek culture, toy news, movie news, television news, really anything that interests us. I wanted to give the show kind of an experimental try and see what you guys thought about it, and I've got a couple of friends here today to help me out with it. Over here we've got Greg.
Hey, I'm Robert's brother. I'm a fan of Star Trek and video games, and currently watching the superhero shows like Gotham and Flash, and, well, comic book shows in general, Walking Dead, stuff like that too.
All right, and over here we have JT.
Hey, I'm JT. Big fan of video games, movies, comic books. Been doing it for quite a long time. You can find me at Big Nights 33 on Twitter.
All right.
Yeah.
And obviously you guys know me. I do toy reviews at D21 Beast on YouTube, and I consider myself something of an expert in comics and geek television and things like that. So I feel like we got a really good panel together here today to talk about what we're going to talk about. So the first thing I want to start off with is Star Wars issue number 1. This came out not this week, but actually last week. But I thought it was such a big book that we'd go ahead and talk about it. Star Wars issue number 1 had a pretty cool variant cover. It actually had a lot of variant covers, but one of my favorites that I've seen so far is the cover that was done by comic book artist Alex Ross. You guys might know his work from Marvel's, DC's Kingdom Come. He does really covers throughout all the different comic book industry, but I think that particular cover looks really, really nice. Star Wars issue number 1 was actually written by Jason Aaron. Jason Aaron is a writer who's best known probably for doing Wolverine in the X-Men. He's got his indie series, The Other Side, and Scalped. I'm a big fan of him on the Wolverine the X-Men series. That kind of interested me in the book for that reason, and I really think his Wolverine Get Mystique storyline is one of my favorite that I've ever read. Also, artwork on this book was done by John Cassaday. John Cassaday has been known for Planetary, Uncanny Avengers more recently, but of course, probably his biggest work that he's done so far, at least in my opinion, is Astonishing X-Men that he did with Joss Whedon. So really cool to see that artist on the book. Also, it should be noticed that Laura Martin did the colors for the book, and she was the same artist who teamed with John Cassaday on Astonishing X-Men. So great sort of reunion of talent there. But let's go ahead and talk about Star Wars issue 1. Greg, I'll go ahead and kick things off with you. What did you think of the first issue?
Well, just firstly to confirm what I thought I heard you say, the guy who did Get Mystique wrote this book?
That's right.
Okay, interesting. I didn't know that. I did read Get Mystique, and I really enjoyed that book. This story... I mean, being kind of thrown into it, I guess I'm still waiting to see what's going to happen. But it was definitely interesting to see, Han and Leia and everybody get back into the fold and kind of see where it fits in. I was curious before I read it, how is this going to fit into everything? Are we going to see stuff about Episode 7 in here?
Right.
What's going to come up? I didn't see anything like that, but it seems like it's nestled pretty nicely between episodes 4 and 5?
Yeah,
because
they're shooting for, yeah.
Yeah, because they hinted basically Obi-Wan's dead, but it did not look like Luke had any idea that Vader was his father. And so, yeah, I mean, for a nice short little story, kicking things off, I thought it was pretty good, yeah.
All right, great. And JT, what did you think?
Same thoughts. I thought it was fantastically written. I liked the art style. Very, very good art. Colors really popped. Great to see the original cast back in it.
Yes.
That was very good. Got to see some lightsabers pulled out.
Yeah,
which,
right?
alluded to maybe some good fighting and some good action going to happen.
Got the hand cut off scene.
Yeah. But surprised to see R2 with kind of a new little twist on how to take down some enemies.
Yeah, right.
Kind of was cool. And I'm just excited to see how far they're going to take it, and maybe even see some foreshadowing to Episode 7. So.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is, I'm not too big into the comic book reading, but I don't know if this is common. Like, at the end, they had those last few panels where you had Vader in Hutt's palace. What was that all about?
Oh, that was actually a preview, I believe, of a Darth Vader comic book that was coming up. So that was, I noticed that because there was no word bubbles or anything like that.
I was I don't know what's going on here. Was this supposed to happen before what we just saw or after? Or?
I don't know when that comic book's taking place. I can't remember who's writing it, but Salvador Larroca does the artwork, and he's been known to do mostly X-Men, and he wrote Iron Man around the time that Iron Man 2 came out, or Iron Man 1 even, and wrote pretty much for not 10 years, but 5 years. So that's what I know about the book, is that it's going to focus on Vader, and that was kind of a preview. There was also another preview, I think, in the end that didn't have any speech bubbles either.
I can't remember what that was.
I think it may have been Leia-centric. Yeah.
Oh, you got it? Okay.
So I thought that was kind of an interesting way. Oh, and let me say, the way this book started, I thought was really cool. You open the first page and it says a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah.
And then
just
the next page was that double page spread that said Star Wars. I was I could just hear the John Williams music.
I was doing the same thing, sitting there hearing it in my head.
Yeah. So I thought that was a really, really cool way to open the book. And
also the first panel, when you come down,
yes,
it has the ship over the
exactly right
planet. So
And even still, there was the reference at one point. I want to say Luke was trying to force used his force powers to make guys think that they weren't the ones they were looking for. He
Yeah,
had some sort of line along those lines, and it didn't work out for him.
yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was really cool too. Overall, I really enjoyed the writing. I like where the series is going so far. I think the artwork is really great. I think Cassaday is really able to render the way the characters look.
Oh yeah, they really popped out. Like as soon as you saw Han on the page, you're like, "That's Han."
Yeah,
Solo.
there's
You
no
don't have to see
mistaking
his
it.
face back.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and with his Chewbacca, I thought it was kind of interesting. Having read Astonishing X-Men, I felt like Chewbacca, the way he was drawn, took a lot of cues from the way that Beast had been drawn in that book, with like the curly hair and the way that he moved
I gotta
around.
say, if there's one thing I didn't like, it's when Chewbacca has Vader in his sights, and then Leia's basically like, "Take the shot,"
Yeah.
and of course it
Yeah.
doesn't work, and it
Yeah.
ruins everything.
Yeah.
And it's like,
It
come
does.
on,
Yeah.
you knew that wasn't gonna work.
And
But,
that kind of brings me to another thought I had about this book. As fun as this book is, we know it takes place between episodes 4 and episodes 5. Without getting into too much of spoilers, the book ends at a point that seems very tense. Luke has a run-in with somebody that you know from Star Wars canon,
Yeah.
but the whole time I'm looking at that page, I'm like, well, it's not really going to end badly for this guy because
Yeah,
he's still
'cause
around for
there's
2
more-
more movies.
Yeah,
So-
you know more is to come out of that. So.
Yeah, so again, while it's fun to read, I hope they don't rely on the main cast members being in peril like that on a regular basis, because you're always going to know that they're going to come out okay.
Yeah.
And now, if they start doing like a Star Wars 7 book, and maybe there's some side characters in that we don't know very well, maybe if you're reading the comic book in between the movies, you might think, oh, this guy might bite it. Who knows? But that's probably my one biggest complaint about this book, is that I wish I felt like the characters were more in peril. It was fun to see them in peril, but I know they're going to be okay in the end.
Yeah.
Yep.
So maybe they'll make up for that with even side characters in this book.
Yeah. Maybe
So-
the introductory of new characters, seeing them put into some of the positions that maybe some of the main people were put in, to kind of bring them into a tense situation, and then see how it all unscathes after that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, as a kind of mild comic book reader and Star Wars fan, excuse me, I didn't recognize any ancillary characters, side characters from this. Did any of you guys? Because for me, it was basically like just the main people and them doing their own adventure.
Well, in short of the Admiral, and I can't remember what the Admiral's name was in the book, but it wasn't like Grand Moff Tarkin or anybody like that
That
you know
was
from the
there,
movies.
yeah.
I think it was just kind of a fill-in Admiral. So I don't think that they had a lot in the way of winks and nudges in that respect. So,
Yeah.
but I'm sure we're sure to get that as the book progresses.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So-
well, I was curious if there were any characters that they can kind of they've set up maybe to be main characters further down the line. I didn't see anything like that yet.
Right.
But it is just issue 1, so we'll see.
Yeah.
And
Is it-
they meet a lot of people in this book too. That all have to be huddled onto the Millennium Falcon. So who knows? Maybe we'll see somebody from that group
Yeah.
kind of step up and be somebody significant. So, but overall, you recommend the book?
Oh yeah, I would say so. Yeah. If you're-
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Totally recommend it. Totally pick it up. Something I think will be collectible down the line, since they're kind
Especially
of
that
doing a
cover.
big rebirth with Star Wars. It's kind of coming
Yes.
back real strong.
And
so.
it should be said, this is the first Marvel published Star Wars comic book in at least 20 years. I know they were, when Empire Strikes Back was in theaters, and possibly even when A New Hope was out, they had a Star Wars comic running with Marvel, but they lost the rights. And I don't know when the rights fell out of play, but I know for sure around the time that Phantom Menace was in theaters, Dark Horse was already publishing Star Wars comic books at that point. So this is kind of a big hurrah for Marvel to get Star Wars back under their property. So. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to the second topic. What I thought we'd go ahead and talk about is This Week in Geek TV. So This Week in Geek TV, when we look at the shows that are out there right now, Flash, Arrow, Gotham, Agent Carter. Agent Carter, I know, was a repeat this past week, and it was a repeat of episode number 3.
But we still have the lasting mystery. So
We do still have the
yes.
lasting mystery. So if you're not up to speed on what's going on with Agent Carter, what episode 3 kind of showed us, how do I say what's going on? Basically, there's something potentially nefarious going on apart from Tony being framed for building a bunch of, as he calls them, bad babies, or weapons that are really dangerous. So we saw in this episode kind of Jarvis really getting a moment to shine. We saw a little
Getting
bit more
in
of
the
his
field with
backstory.
Peggy.
Yeah, he got in the field with Peggy.
That's awesome.
And we even saw Peggy kind of put herself on the line for Jarvis and risk honestly kind of ruining her career maybe with the way that she kind of helped him out in a situation of need. But as they went through the adventure, it became apparent that somebody else was watching what was going on and possibly pulling strings from behind the scenes, and we don't know who that is.
We did get introduced to the new character Dottie Underwood.
We did. We got introduced to Dottie.
Yeah.
And yeah, so you got some thoughts about that too. I guess maybe I'll start with my thoughts on Dottie, and then we'll kind of hand it over. I thought it was very interesting that Dottie, they made a point to introduce her to the people watching the show introduced her to Peggy Carter, and that she commented that her background was ballet.
Ballet.
Yeah.
And Dottie's, I don't think Dottie's who she says she is. I think
No.
Dottie might be a participant of the Red Room program that Black Widow's from, where they brainwash spies in Russia and basically treat them like they're some sort of ballerina academy, but really they're training them to be super spies. And Dottie herself may not even know that she's a spy until a certain trigger's hit. But I have a feeling we're going to see a lot more of Dottie on this show, and I think that's going to very much play into Avengers Age of Ultron. If you've seen the trailer for that movie, there's a shot in that trailer where there's some ballerinas doing a pirouette. So probably very much intentional on Marvel's part to include that as part of the show. They like to have a lot of crossover between that, movies and television. So I'm very excited to see where that goes. But Jay, we'll start with you. What were your thoughts on the episode?
Definitely some heavy foreshadowing in
Yeah.
Age of Ultron. I think Marvel's one of the best companies in trolling us, and then plugging in a very integral part like Dottie. I think is going to lead to something. I think you're right on with that, going into the Russian ballerina thing. Training her as some type of double agent, where we see her maybe turn mid-season.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it ends up like leading right into Age of Ultron. So that's hard subject to go into.
Yeah.
She's really cool. I really enjoy her character. I can't wait to see that unfold. I'm loving Agent Carter herself. I mean, it's really rough to be a woman anyway in the 40s,
Right.
and then to be an agent undercover. That's
Yeah.
really tough. Seeing Jarvis, his original form before he's just a background noise in Iron Man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So seeing all that kind of unfold and seeing the storyline kind of take off. I know there's some other stuff going on with the Stark family too.
Yeah.
That's kind of going to uncover maybe later on. Heard some rumors about the Civil War that might be happening with the with that, and some Winter Soldier stuff that might be happening with that. So do with Russian brainwashing and stuff like that. So we'll see what happens. I think when those characters kind of get more time to develop. So I'm excited to see what goes on.
Well, that's awesome. Greg?
I completely agree. Now, I don't are you guys familiar with Dottie from comic lore, or where are you getting this?
I'm getting just based on the fact that she mentioned she was a Russian. Well, she didn't mention she was Russian, but she mentioned she was a ballerina, and instantly that's okay, well, maybe she's not all she says she is. So
is she,
I don't know
is she an original character for the show?
As far as I know, she's original
Okay.
character.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So really, it's just that the career association.
Yeah. I mean, you don't just in a Marvel property, you don't mention that you're a ballerina. Seemingly with small town, I don't know, just the fact that she's on this show, that they need to have a twist or some sort of plot to move the story forward. The fact that in 7 or 8 episodes that they're doing this season, they took the time out to introduce us to Dottie.
Yeah.
I mean, she could have just been another character in the background who we never knew, a friend maybe even of Carter's roommate, maybe somebody who was just off to the side. But the fact that Carter met her, and she made sure to establish the fact that she was new, she's from Iowa, and she's a ballerina. Makes it really seem like it's a backstory. She's a plant, I think, at this point.
Understood.
Marvel's huge for trolling us on types. When they introduce them to the main character, you'll always see something unfold later on with that particular character.
Oh, yeah.
If it's maybe a background character that's not going to do much, you don't see as much. Think about Agent Hill. She was kind of plugged right into that huge Avengers thing, but now she's kind of unfolded into being her own character. So things like that happen
Does
all
she
the
have
time.
a show coming?
Agent Hill?
Marie Hill, yeah.
No,
No.
not that I'm aware of,
Okay.
but I would be very surprised if we don't see her in the second half of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when it returns.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, we already saw
Yeah.
her in season 1, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Right at
So-
the end, but not a whole lot, yeah.
Right, yeah. So as far as we know, she's still working for Stark, I think, on the public face, but she's helping S.H.I.E.L.D. behind the scenes.
Anyway, as far as Peggy Carter, I completely agree. I think you can tell when you watch Captain America 1, the first Avenger, that basically Peggy Carter is a strong character, and it's a shame to not get to do more with her.
Yeah.
And she really stands out in that movie, so it's good to get to see more of her on screen. And it's good to see all the backstory there, just like JT was saying. So yeah, I completely agree. I really enjoy what we've seen so far. And we haven't mentioned this yet. I really like the mid 20th century aesthetic.
Oh my goodness, they are
the
knocking it out of the
music,
park with that.
yes.
Yeah. I love you're right. The music, the big band music that plays throughout most of the show, I think is amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I was a really huge fan, and I think the only time I've ever kind of been taken out of it, I think, watching the show so far is I don't know when the chain link fence was invented. Okay, I don't know how long that's been around,
Yeah.
but I wonder if it was around in the 1940s. Because in that first or second episode where she's at the Roxxon power plant, they bust through a chain link fence in the car that they're driving.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, like every single thing that I've seen on that show
Yeah.
is just phenomenal. The cars, the sets, the clothing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I love the inside of the diner on that show. I mean, just everything
yeah.
seems just. I mean, it seems Lawrence Welk, frankly. I mean,
Yeah.
that's exactly
Yeah.
what it needs to look like.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, love it.
Well, let's go ahead and move on to Arrow. Now, I personally am not as caught up on Arrow, so I'm going to let Greg and JT kind of talk about this one. But go ahead and share with us as much as you want to about Arrow this week.
Okay, well, let's try it one way. We can always cut this later. First, I would say let's do a no spoiler version.
Okay.
Okay, so basically at the end of the last season, like the last half season, there was a pretty big event that happened in Arrow, and since neither of you guys have seen it, I mean, I don't want to say anything, but basically when it came back this week, they just undid that, essentially. I mean, and I don't think anybody was convinced that what happened was going to stick, but I think the big news, I almost have to do a spoiler version.
That's fine. Go for
Okay.
it. You guys have been warned. Feel free to skip ahead, probably 5-6 minutes maybe.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to have any spoilers for Arrow.
And it's really, the shame isn't even so much spoiling it for you guys, it's that these guys don't know. I'm not going to spoil it for them, but okay, so at the end of season, what was it, 3? The 3.5, where we just left off, I won't tell you why, but Oliver agrees to fight Ra's al Ghul in a sword battle on top of
Okay.
a mountain,
Interesting.
and he dies. Ra's al Ghul kills him and kicks him off a mountaintop.
Wait a minute. We're talking about comic book TV show kill, right?
Yes. Like, I mean, at the moment it happened, I was like, no, he's not staying dead. Furthermore, the fact that it is Ra's al Ghul that did it, you're like, Lazarus Pit exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then the thing is, the way that they brought him back, and again, it's not something I'm going to tell you, but I think this is at least fairly important, was not the Lazarus Pit.
Interesting.
So it was, because I was curious, like, I think a lot of people that I've seen have been talking about, are they going to do Lazarus Pit? They even teased, I think it was in early season 3, you see, when you first see Ra's al
Ra's al
Ghul,
Ghul comes out.
yeah, he's like in a bath,
Yeah.
and they don't say he's in the Lazarus Pit, but like he's just sitting there in a tub with. But anyway, so the way Oliver comes back is not the Lazarus Pit. There's more, and I think you already know at least a little bit about this. There's more with Felicity and the would-be Adam. He's going by Omac or something, I think, in the show.
Okay.
And again, I don't know as much about the comics. I just know what I've seen on the show and what I've seen other people talk about. So Ray Palmer is the guy's name on the show, and he is the current owner, I guess, of Queen Consolidated, and is using all of their resources, their assets, to build his armor suit. But currently he doesn't have it working yet, and because Oliver died, Felicity is not so sure she wants to help him do this. And at the end of the most recent episode, she walks out. Again, I'm not convinced. I don't think Felicity's going anywhere.
Right.
And you know about Malcolm Merlyn and Thea,
Yes.
but you don't know, I guess, the most recent details. Did you see when at the end of season 2 they ran off together?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. She got in the car with him. And
They-
she actually seemed to almost regret it when she did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they
Yeah.
they went off and lived together for a little while, and now they came back, but essentially where we left off, he's asking her to leave again. I mean, a lot of it, some of it feels like I don't really buy the twists that they're throwing, but I'm still interested to see where they go, because I want to see Omac, Adam. I want to see what happens to Oliver after Resurrection. You know, I want to see where all these things are going, but it's been more transitional right now. And without mentioning any of the other spoilers that you don't know anything about. Oh, and then also Black Canary. So yes, at the very end of the episode, Laurel shows up for the first time in the Black Canary suit, beats the crap out of some guys. It's a good look, I would say that.
Yeah.
And it's certainly a better look for Laurel than where she's been for the past couple seasons. So yeah,
Yeah.
very interested to see where that's going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta say too. Again, I've seen through the end of season 2 because that's all that's on Netflix, and I don't watch the show as it's airing. But knowing that Ra's al Ghul is in season 3, I have to assume that Tommy Merlyn is going to make an appearance again, if and maybe that's how they'll reintroduce the Lazarus Pit. And I could be way off. You guys don't have to spoil anything, but I kind of expect that to happen. And the other thing is, I'm really curious to know how Laurel, in the state that she's in at the end of season 2, she's very kind of broken and just kind of realized what's going on in her world.
Yeah.
She's not a fighter at all. I mean, she does have some self-defense training, and she's used it a couple of times, but I would say she's not at League of Assassins level or anything, or where her sister was at when she kind of, left the mantle. So
I think that's what's going to make her a fighter, though. Kind of going all the way down to her just rock bottom, and then, okay, what are you going to do now, kid? Your sister is who she is, your dad's who he is. What are you going to do? And maybe that kind of sparks her to, have some gumption and maybe fight for herself.
There is certainly a spark, I will say that.
Okay.
Watch season 3, and you'll see what it is.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and cut it off there then. Let's talk about Flash. Is there anything you want to share with us about Flash?
Flash. So, okay. Now, you guys basically haven't even seen Flash.
No. Waiting for Netflix on that one, man.
Yeah, I know.
So basically, and I don't know, do you know anything about the Flash comics, either of you?
Very little.
Very little.
I know about the Speed Force. I know that there's been at least like 4 or 5 Flashes in the comics. I mean, I watched Smallville, so I saw Impulse on that show.
Yeah.
I've seen Justice League Unlimited, so I've seen some Flash through that.
Did you see his origins in Arrow?
You've seen that,
I've seen that episode.
Okay, yes.
I mean, I knew enough about Flash that when I watched Catch Me If You Can, I totally caught on to the fact that Leonardo DiCaprio's character was naming himself Flash characters.
Yeah.
And that's, I knew that much at least. So what can you say?
Well, most of what has happened in Flash so far has still kind of just been origin story. So, I mean, there's not a whole lot to really spoil, as it were. They have introduced the Reverse Flash, which, and I don't read the comics, but apparently one of his major villains.
Yes.
And the reveal, I guess, the one reveal that we've seen so far is that the character Harrison Wells, who has been kind of grooming Flash all along, may be, or at least be associated with, the Reverse Flash. He's the guy in the wheelchair who isn't really in a wheelchair. And if you haven't seen the show, that means nothing to you. But yeah, the thing about Flash, I guess, they've introduced also Firestorm, and in the most recent episode, Caitlin Snow got more info about Firestorm. She's kind of tracking down her formerly believed to be dead fiance, who she has now met and sees that he has fire powers.
Now, without getting too comic book spoiler or whatever, Caitlin Snow, is that Killer Frost?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is. And that's a thing. That's another thing about Flash. That is many of the characters. The other one is Cisco, and I can't remember his last name. But many of them are clear setup references to people in comics.
Yes.
So you can kind of and I didn't know this until seeing how other people had talked about the show. But knowing that now, you're really just kind of waiting for something to happen.
Well, that sounds fun. I mean, I got that feeling
Yeah.
watching even Arrow in the first season. I got that feeling when we saw Roy Harper for the first time. I was like, "That's Speedy," except Thea's already called Speedy, so I guess we're not going to call him that.
Yeah,
so
why is he switching it?
And Thea's new, actually, isn't she?
I don't know enough about Green Arrow's backstory to know if she existed or not.
Okay.
So, but side tangent, I guess. I saw the same sort of idea used really effectively on the Spectacular Spider-Man animated series. Every time they had a character show up, it wasn't just a throwaway character. It was like, this guy shows up and he says, "Hey, my name's Eddie Brock," or another guy shows up and he's like, "I'm Max Dillon." You're like, okay, so all these people working into the story are people you already know, and they were very well woven into everything that was going on.
Right.
So.
Well, I mean, as far as other things that have happened on Flash, it's more. What was I gonna say?
We were talking about how they've kind of done a lot of setup with Caitlin Snow.
Yeah. So the things that have been revealed are more show self-contained. Like if I were to tell you, Flash admitted his long lost love for Iris, you don't know really the dynamic there. It's like you haven't seen them, the will they, won't they.
Okay.
Like, I don't know. So apart from that, I guess we're just waiting for more setup as far as the Reverse Flash, see what happens with that. He's trying to build up to be faster because he knows the Reverse Flash is faster than he is. So there's going to be more of that coming.
Okay. But you're enjoying the show so far. It's pretty good for season 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely enjoying the show. Lots of stuff to come. There have been lots of drops about future events coming and things that we'll see on the horizon. So yeah, looking forward to see where that's going.
Fantastic. Well, let's talk about Gotham. I have only seen through about the first 4 episodes of Gotham. Where I'm at, Oswald Cobblepot has come back to Gotham basically at this point, and he's starting to potentially have run-ins with Fish Mooney, if I'm remembering correctly. But that's really kind of where I'm at. And Jay, you're caught up on Gotham?
No, I'm not caught up on Gotham. I would love to hear more about it.
All right, so let's go ahead. And what do you think of this week's Gotham? Oh, and I should mention, too, it was officially announced last week, I think, or maybe it was this week, via IGN and MovieWeb that Gotham got a second season order. So wherever the show is at now, it will come back for a second season.
I actually described to a friend last night Gotham as the show that I'm most excited to see where it goes right now.
Really?
And that is a change because I thought out of the 4 shows we've discussed so far even, Gotham had the weakest start. I thought Gotham was a little bit, and a lot of people have expressed this opinion, somewhat tacky and lacking subtlety initially. But I think that once you kind of accept where it is, the universe that it's in, the notion that these characters are kind of larger than life and crazy and should be lacking subtlety because, they're mentally challenged. Like, these are people with some serious, deep-seated mental issues. I think they've done some excellent work with that. I think what they're doing with Edward Nygma is really good. The dynamic between him and Kris Kringle, the office intern.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and there was more of that in the past couple episodes, which I thought was really good. You kind of saw her enjoying it more versus the first time where she was just kind of off-put by him. But then she kind of moved back into the fold when the other officer entered the room. So you can see that Nygma is not just somebody who snapped. He's somebody who's kind of got this lifetime of issues, and he's not there yet, but I like the long game they're playing with him.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Penguin, and you don't get that joke, but in a recent episode, he corrected somebody who referred to him as Penguin.
Okay.
He said it's actually the Penguin.
Oh, okay.
So,
Interesting.
All right.
So basically, he's probably my favorite character on the show, and I think a lot of people would agree with that, just because Robin Lord Taylor does an amazing job portraying the Penguin, and it's fun to see him go from essentially being a sniveling little mole in the first episode to actually having a lot of power, especially in the most recent episode. And he's been playing everyone.
And you've even kind of commented to me, too, that your observation of the show with the Penguin is more interesting than Gordon on the show.
Really?
Yeah, I don't find Gordon, the character, all that interesting. The situations he ends up in are often very interesting, but he's more of the... You can count on him to do the morally right thing always, which is good. They're testing those limits a little bit because there was a reference in the most recent episode where he's like, I'm done being careful, and then Bullock's like, you think you've been careful so far? Which I thought was just great.
Now, is he playing a beat cop or is he playing actual detective?
Well, actually, let's see. So originally he was detective.
Okay.
And the mid-season break, he got demoted to...
man.
Yeah.
We'll call that the Detective Lance syndrome.
Yeah.
But see, here's the thing. So he essentially made the mayor mad and got demoted to be a security guard at Arkham Asylum.
Okay.
But that only lasted for like an episode and a half.
Okay.
So now he's back at the police department. He's a detective again. Although in the most recent episode, we saw the commissioner show up. And the commissioner walks in, and then Gordon's there in the frame behind him, and you're just seeing that, and you're like,
Yeah.
that's mine. That's mine one day. And now you just, essentially where you are in the show, have just met Liza.
Yes.
Who is the Fish Mooney's plant for Falcone. And I have to say, the biggest event of the most recent episode was when Falcone strangled her to death.
Wow.
Just he discovered by way of Penguin's informing that Liza was a plant from Fish all along, and Fish decided finally to make her move post mid-season to bring down Falcone. She kidnapped Liza from him, and had Falcone thinking that she would need to be ransomed back, and the ransom price was he would get out of town. And then Penguin reveals that Liza was a plant all along. Falcone's like, well, this is, I feel so stupid, but at the same time, now I know what I need to do.
Yeah.
And he goes to Fish, just strangles her, and now he has Fish.
Ruthless, man.
Wow, man, that's pretty good. So I gotta say, like, I didn't enjoy watching Gotham as much as I enjoy watching other comic book shows that are out right now. But based on what you're saying, it sounds like the show really is picking up.
Yeah.
If you aren't able to catch the show live, I know for sure that it streams on Hulu. I see it every time I log in. I just never seem to have time to watch it. But I definitely think it sounds like a show I need to be trying to make an effort to catch more episodes of. So.
I think they're getting better and better as it goes along, for sure. Now that the Penguin's plans have largely come to fruition, it's going to be very interesting to see how he and Fish Mooney work their issues out, and also to see what other villains come to the forefront.
Okay.
Nice,
Okay.
Nice.
Well, the next thing we're going to go ahead and talk about is Marvel Secret War. So I believe it was this week that Marvel officially announced what Secret War was about. And they basically said the Marvel Universe as you know it is coming to an end. And this summer, this sort of event, they typically, really since House of M, maybe even arguably, I believe it was actually called Secret War, the book that came out before House of M. They've been doing a summer event. It's been World War Hulk, it's been Secret Invasion. They keep doing these things every summer. But Secret War is the big one. And for all intents and purposes, it looks like Secret War is going to be an event that more or less kind of makes Marvel ape what DC did a couple years ago, where DC, they basically used an event called Flashpoint to reset the continuity for all of their characters. They basically made it to where the Justice League had just started, certain heroes had just started. Basically, anybody who wasn't named Batman or Green Lantern had their continuities completely changed and back to square one. Marvel isn't quite going that route. The idea behind Secret War is that there is an incursion of all these different universes coming together, namely the 616 Marvel Universe as we know it and the Ultimate Universe, but then of course Marvel Zombies is involved. They put out teasers that show that the 1992 X-Men cartoon is involved, so I don't know how that's going to come into play.
Okay.
So, but all of these different universes are going to come together, and there's going to be a mini-series running where they're basically fighting on Battleworld. And Battleworld is, of course, the name of the planet from the original Secret War from the 1980s, where Spider-Man first got his black costume, and several other events took place there. But basically, on this Battleworld, there's going to be a fight across all these different realities, and by the end of this event, we are going to have a brand new Marvel continuity. So there's a lot of talk about what that actually means. I think it's been confirmed that the Ultimate Universe is going to be done. The universe that started in 2000, it's been running this whole time. If in no other book, then at least in Spider-Man, this universe has been kept alive. But at the end of this summer, that's gone. I would say, based on the popularity of a character like Miles Morales' Spider-Man, he's not gone. He's probably going to be in the 616 Marvel Universe when this event is over. And I have my own theory about Miles Morales. Especially with all the goings-on with Sony and Marvel right now. We know that Sony and Marvel secretly had their Spider-Man retreat that we learned about through those emails through the last year's leak. Marvel seemingly is going to have rights to Spider-Man in Avengers Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2, and that's been covered by several outlets. My prediction is that it's not going to be a Peter Parker Spider-Man that we see. I think we're going to see Miles Morales in Avengers Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2 in the movie, and I think part of what this incursion or the Secret War event is going to be is making Miles Morales a more established character, a more established fixture in the regular Marvel Universe. And I also think that at the end of this Secret War event, we are going to see characters in the Marvel comic book universe whose backstories are much more in line with what happened in the comics. Marvel has done a lot of catch-up in the comics lately. They've done things I think as crazy as making Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver no longer the children of Magneto because it doesn't fit with what's going to happen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yeah. Even though for the last 40, 50 years, it was never even in question. That's what we knew. They were the children of Magneto. It made sense. It was part of their backstory. They always knew. It was just a known concept, a known quantity. They're changing that. And
they also made Quake an Inhuman.
We saw on on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Quake has been established as an Inhuman. Now, Quake in the comics hasn't been, and it's very interesting to see that in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. comic book that started up in December, Coulson's team's together, but among the people who are missing is Quake. I think after Secret War is over, the Quake that we used to know from the Secret Six comic, I believe it was, that was with Nick Fury from a couple years back, I think that Quake's going to be gone. And I think the Quake that's established in the comic books now is going to be the Daisy Johnson Quake from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., who was a former hacker, possibly for Rising Tide. And she will come in and join Coulson's team. Again, it's all about corporate synergy and alignment, and we're seeing a lot of that sort of stuff. So basically, my thoughts are you guys excited for what Secret War is going to bring to the Marvel Universe? Are you annoyed maybe that they're changing continuities? What do you kind of think? Jay, we'll start with you on this one.
I think it's going to be great. I think they've been kind of leading up to this for quite a few years, actually. Especially with this, obviously the sale to Disney. Disney kind of getting all the licenses back under the one Marvel umbrella. Seeing all that happen, I think is good, but I think they need a refresh. I think it's about that time. We saw what DC did. It's actually working out pretty well for them. They got new toy lines, they have new books, they have a bunch of new properties out there that is actually like generating a lot of money and actually getting things built from the ground up. A lot of the storylines were really interwoven, and I think people were losing themselves in the storyline. Well, you had to read this one to get to this one, especially in the Ultimate Universe. So many storylines crossed over, and like being able to even catch up to why is Miles Morales Spider-Man not Peter Parker type thing. I mean, you had to go back so far, so many years to get up to Miles.
Sure.
And then kind of resetting all that, I think is really good. Seeing those storylines be refreshed. I'm also kind of interested to see how they incorporate Spider-Man into the movie continuity.
Yeah.
I could see Miles, but I could also see them already having an established character in Peter Parker because of Sony's reboot in the last few years. Maybe that's the storyline they want to go with, and then put in Peter Parker.
Peter Parker finds out that he's adopted, and his real name is Miles Morales.
Oh my goodness! And somehow he's like half black and Hispanic at the same time.
He just ends up going in.
I mean, I always suspected that about Andrew Garfield, but he can really play that part.
Well, we know Andrew Garfield won't be reprising the role, so.
True, and I guess I kind of have a thought on that too before we get to your thoughts on this, Greg, is that I don't think Peter Parker Spider-Man is going away in the comics. I think Miles Morales is just going to be a much more forward figure. He's going to be, we have the Young Avengers in the Marvel Cinematic, or in the Marvel comic book universe, and frankly, since really the Civil War period, they haven't done anything with them. They had a 12-issue arc, and then the book went away because Jimmy Chung, I believe, was the guy. No, he was the artist. I'm forgetting the guy who was the writer on the book. But Alan Heinberg, I think, might have been his name. But he was actually a writer for Lost. And he got completely wrapped up in that show.
Wow.
And never went back to the book, basically. So it wasn't until like 2 years ago or something they finally had another Young Avengers story, which was really actually Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver heavy. And I didn't have a chance to read it. But basically, these guys have been sidelined. We've seen Kate Bishop, the new Hawkeye from that book, because at the time that Young Avengers started, Hawkeye was dead in comics. Kate Bishop still kind of shows up in Hawkeye series, but basically these guys are not doing anything. And I feel like there's going to be a forward push from Marvel to, instead of having the Ultimate Universe where there's all these young heroes, they're going to have these young heroes just running at the same time as the regular Marvel continuity. So you can get your guys who are frankly finally starting to grow up. They'll be in their 30s and 40s and have the younger heroes that are around.
So are we going to see a team up between Ultimate Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and Peter Parker?
Well, we already had the universe crossover book Spider-Men from Brian Michael Bendis, and Pacelli might have been the artist on that. I can't remember, but I think we're going to get a lot more of that. Yeah, I mean, I think Spider-Man's quickly, especially with Spider-Verse that's running right now, and we could do a whole show on that. I'm a big fan of what they're doing there. Spider-Man is getting his Gotham Knights. You know how Batman's got Batgirl, Robin, Red Hood, all these guys that are basically in his corner should he need to call in the people of Gotham. I think Spider-Man's going to have like his own basically subset of guys that kind of operate, and they're sort of in their own group. And Miles will probably be on the forefront of that with what's going on post-Secret War.
I've just got to say, you were talking about having new books with younger heroes running around. Younger heroes, the new Jean Grey is going to be 18 years old.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And as well as and the new, well, for that matter, the new Fantastic Four, they're all really young.
Well, that's good. That's a good point. Yeah.
So what are you thinking? We were just talking about how Secret War and the resetting of continuity, Ultimate's going away. It really seems like a lot of continuities are resetting now, and I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing, although I do wonder, because I see this younger trend coming up.
Yeah.
And what do you think of that? How do you think that's going to impact where comics go and comic movies go?
Well, I'll say this. One thing I like that Marvel seems to be doing, again, we don't know a lot about Secret War right now, but one thing that seems to be what Marvel's doing is that they're going to introduce new ideas and new characters while still keeping the greatest hits version of the characters we already knew. So I don't know that they're going to completely replace cast members with younger people. They could. I mean, right now, I guess you could argue there's already an 18-year-old Jean Grey in the Marvel comics because they had all new X-Men by Brian Michael Bendis and Stuart Immonen, among other artists, where we have the original 5 X-Men as teenagers running around with Shadowcat right now. Actually, I think they just recently went to space. So we've kind of got Teenage Jean in the books already. But there could potentially be during the Secret War event that they run into the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the comics and those guys come over. I think if they do that, we may just have younger versions of characters we already know on top of the older ones. I don't know. One thing I didn't like about what DC did when they did their New 52 reset is they didn't really define what that meant. Basically, they all started with number ones. We knew that Batman's history all still mattered. Green Lantern's history all still mattered. But then you have a group like the Justice League, which I think at the time of New 52 issue 1 with that comic, they'd been together for roughly a year. But all of Batman's continuity still mattered. So you ran into this issue of like, well, if Batman's done all of this stuff, how is it possible that he's part of this group that's less than a year old? Or Superman's the same way. Like, he had just started getting his powers. I don't want to see the same sort of questions being asked at the end of Secret War.
Right.
I mean, I encourage the younger cast. I really enjoy what they've been doing with all new X-Men. I mean, it's the main X-Men have still existed while the younger ones are there. They're just going on their own adventures. So if we're going to have the young characters come in, I just don't want it to be at the expense of the characters that maybe we've come to know, or that maybe the characters that are actually working.
And see, that's the thing for me. Like with First Class, I think it worked really well because you had essentially a bunch of younger heroes.
Oh, and you're talking about the movie First Class,
Yeah,
not the comic
the movie
First
First
Class.
Class. Yeah. Because they were younger in that movie, but who was younger seemed to make more sense to me, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
But just having, like, we've already seen an older Jean Grey. I don't know what I'm going to feel, I guess, about having a teenage Jean Grey. Is it going to be a Jean Grey in high school? You know, or, you know.
Yeah,
with,
you're talking about in the movie, too.
In the
Yeah,
movie,
okay,
yeah, in the movie. And same with Fantastic Four, although I haven't seen the other Fantastic Four movies. They're so young.
They really are young,
Yeah.
and that's. I have a lot of mixed feelings about Fantastic
Like
Four right
they're
now.
younger than me.
Yeah, right. They are. I mean, they're. I remember when the original Fantastic Four came out. Ioan Gruffudd was cast as Mr. Fantastic. All I really knew him from at that point, I think, was the movie Arthur, which was like a King Arthur film. Which I didn't have a problem with his acting in there. I really didn't know enough about the guy, but I liked the way that he came out in the movie. They announced, Michael Chiklis' Thing, definitely the oldest person in the cast.
Great
And
thing.
now
he did a great thing.
And now the
Yeah.
oldest of the Fantastic Four is Kate Mara, who's like 28. I
Right.
think.
Really?
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's what the point I was kind of getting to is when they announced Jessica Alba. First of all, I thought she didn't seem seasoned enough to be a Sue Storm type character, but the thing I kept thinking was, God, she's really, really young.
Yeah.
To be like the potential wife of this guy who's got multiple PhDs or whatever.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're doing this new movie, and we're kind of transitioning topics here, but the fact that they're doing this new Fantastic Four movie with such a young cast, I wonder how they're pulling it off. I mean, Ben Grimm is a NASA space shuttle pilot.
Yeah.
How do you become a space shuttle pilot when you're 22?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you don't have
Yeah.
the flight time in there, right? Like, you got to put in your time.
There's no training.
Yeah. So I guess all we can extrapolate from that maybe is that the histories of these characters are going to be so wildly different from what we're familiar with.
Yeah, I want to see how they pull a good origin story out of this, because it
Yeah.
seems to me like they're going to be reaching pretty far because of how young they are.
And there's a movie coming out in February, directed by Matthew Vaughn, the guy who actually directed X-Men First Class, and I want to say it's Secret Service Kingsman or something like that, something along those lines. I'm sorry I don't have the title in front of me. But that movie's going to have the first trailer for Fantastic Four. This is a movie that is completed filming, went all last year without any sort of updates. They didn't show up to Comic-Con. Here we are. They're supposed to come out this summer. We still don't have a trailer. I mean, we've got trailers for Age of Ultron. We've got a trailer for Ant-Man, which doesn't come out till like late July. Fantastic Four, I think, is somewhere between May and July, and we've got nothing. The only thing we've got is a picture of a maquette of Thing that was supposedly leaked, but came out during Comic-Con. And then we've got an image of Dr. Doom that looks super melted and almost like he's in a flame retardant suit.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like the Dr. Doom that we know. Plus, we have the guy playing Dr. Doom who came out and said that his Dr. Doom is actually a guy named Domachev. He's not a foreign dignitary. He's not power-hungry and wants to rule the world. He's a hacker. So he's a hacker whose real name is Domachev, and his online handle is Doom.
They should call him New Doom.
New Doom, yeah, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like,
Yeah.
they're taking a lot of... they're doing a lot of changes with this movie. So
Yeah.
I think what we're going to get is not the Fantastic Four we're expecting.
Yeah.
I think
That could be a good thing.
It could be a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy who's directing the movie, oh man, his name's escaping me, but he directed Chronicle, and I enjoyed Chronicle for what it was.
Movie.
Yeah, I mean, Chronicle was really good. It was kind of a found footage superhero film, and very much had a Magneto-like character in the movie. So actually, I think it was Dane DeHaan who played the villain in the movie, and he was the guy that they had playing Goblin in Amazing Spider-Man 2. And while that movie had its problems, I don't think Harry Osborn was one of them. So I like what the guy who did Chronicle did with that movie. I'm just really, I haven't made up my mind yet about Fantastic Four. I'm really hoping it's good.
Yeah.
Everything I've heard tells me that it's flying completely in the face of everything I ever knew about the Fantastic Four. So we're just going to have to wait and see.
I think you're on it when we need more. Like, we need to see more about this movie.
Yeah,
Like,
you can't really make a
you
choice
can't
based
make
on
a
what
choice.
you know.
Yeah, there's nothing to go off of. I mean, we can go off of Age of Ultron trailer. We can go off of all these other things, but like Fantastic Four, just like give me something, Fox.
I mean,
like
they've definitely, from the outward appearance, it seems like they've definitely been hiding this movie and dragging their heels and giving us anything.
Yeah.
So that's probably not a good sign, but hopefully it means that they're picking the moment, they're confident now in what they've got, and they just really want to wow us. So we'll see what happens with that. But real quick, touching back on Secret Wars, we are all excited about the changes that are coming with that, right?
Yep.
So
yeah.
I'm pretty excited.
all right. Well, let's see. What we have next here is covered Miles Morales. Okay, let's talk about gaming. So this particular week, we had the announcement that Club Nintendo was ending. Now, that is such a depressing thing, right?
Yes,
like,
it is.
I think all of us here are Nintendo gamers. If nothing else, we all play Smash Brothers. But I can tell you that I've got a Wii U. I bought it at launch. I was excited for it. I thought Nintendo was finally gonna like give us the next big hurrah in console gaming, and they didn't. They actually left us hanging for a little bit. But I have enjoyed the games that have come out really since the Wii U has come out. Smash Brothers, New Super Mario Brothers. Nintendo Land had its moments. Captain Toad's been really great, I think, and Mario Kart 8 I think is phenomenal.
Mario Kart 8 is a lot of fun.
And so Nintendo, it's a company also on the handhelds with Pokemon. I mean, that's something that all of us have played at some point or another. But Club Nintendo's been a fantastic program where you could buy a game, redeem a code, get points on their website, and then you can actually get real stuff. I mean, they had joke things like stickers and folders and shoestrings, but where I thought the company really shined is I got Nintendo playing cards, or I got an actual canvas bag. You could get hats. I mean, there were some really good prizes for people who were really loyal to them.
Yeah, they had a lot of stuff.
Game downloads. So it's really kind of upsetting that Nintendo's taking away this fan service. And from what I understand, I don't think Japan's losing their Club Nintendo. I think it's just the United States.
Do you know why?
I don't know why. I hope it's not a sign of Nintendo being in more trouble than we realize. I mean, they're not doing as well as they did before. The Wii U is not the success they thought it would be. Their handheld games are definitely increasing in quality.
Do you know what kind of bump they've seen since Smash?
Well, you know what? That's a good question for JT. So you were at Games Retail.
Yeah.
Tell me what you've seen as far as the release that they've had this year and how people have reacted to that.
Really good, actually. I mean, I've seen a spike in just sales alone of consoles. This holiday season, I think, was one of the best. I think they needed it really a lot. Smash Brothers. I mean, every console you saw go out the door was with Smash Brothers. And then with that, but I think Nintendo needs to get back to basics. Hooking the fans up. I think cutting off Club Nintendo might have been one of the worst moves. We'll see. I think hooking the fans up. They need to put more stuff on shelves. Amiibos is really, really cool. That's kind of a good way to kind of hook people up. I know recently I haven't been able to get a Nintendo figurine for under maybe $20 ever. So this is kind of a cool way to get it going. But I think they need to get stuff out. They need to get the adapters out for Smash Brothers.
Oh my goodness, man, that's such a problem. Yeah,
so many people ask me for those adapters. And I mean, I have one, and you don't know how fun it is to play 8-player
oh my goodness
Smash Brothers. I mean, this is the time we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
They need to do that, get that out a lot. They need to get more games out. They need to. I think they're doing great with showing us more Legend of Zelda. They need to get us some content on Star Fox. They need to get us some stuff on new Metroid. Something to get us going. They got a new Kirby coming out. Yoshi's Woolly World looks great.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for the upcoming stuff. Well, I think Nintendo just needs to get back to the basics, especially in America. North America hasn't seen as much as we would like to see. I know there's a huge base that they're missing out on. Huge target audience they're missing out on. Don't get me wrong, Japan is it's home for them. but they need to come on with it.
Yeah, man. Well, your comment on Metroid I find interesting too. Nintendo recently put up Wii Classic titles on the Nintendo eShop.
Yeah.
And among those was Mario Galaxy 2 and Metroid Prime, the whole trilogy.
The whole trilogy.
And there's another game too. I can't remember what it was, but basically they're all games that haven't had a sequel yet.
Yeah.
So I thought it was very telling that those are the games that they chose to put up on the network, and I'm wondering if that means that we're going to get some sort of... We won't get an E3 announcement because Nintendo doesn't believe in E3 anymore.
No, they don't.
But we'll get a Nintendo Direct.
That conspicuously comes at the same time.
Right, yeah. So, and maybe they'll finally announce that they've got those games in the works. I know a lot of people have been predicting like Super Mario Universe since it's the Wii U. I mean,
yeah.
It'd be interesting to see because Galaxy seemed to span quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it was definitely out. I mean, they called it Galaxy, but you could have called it Universe. I mean, you're going from planetoid to planetoid.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see how they take that to the next
Here's
level.
my crazy and not entirely serious prediction.
Okay.
Mario Atom.
Okay.
We're going the other direction this time.
Right.
To coincide with Ant-Man. Like,
Yeah. Partnership between WB. I mean, they did have the exclusive Scribblenauts games on the Wii, right? So there you go. So, but yeah, basically, as far as Club Nintendo is concerned, if you guys are currently doing Club Nintendo, I can tell you that products released after January 20th will no longer come or have codes printed with
already?
them
Wow.
for Club Nintendo. Your last day to earn coins is March 31st, so if you have any games you guys are sitting on, definitely redeem those coins. And then on June 30th is when they're cutting everything off entirely, so that's when it's over.
Got to get that platinum status.
Right?
Yeah.
And I will mention, too, I don't think any of my information here talks about platinum status or elite status, but it seems like there will still be a platinum status because there's still the tracker on the website if you log in. So
Right.
I guess they will have one final platinum prize.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
Time to get it.
even though I couldn't possibly afford it myself this year, I don't have enough Nintendo library. They had that really awesome Nintendo trophy, like the first year they did
Yes.
it. That had all the characters on it.
I have that.
And that's what got me into Club Nintendo. And then the very next year, they didn't do that. I have...
They tricked you.
They did trick me. Like, what did I get the first year? I think I got the buttons, maybe, or maybe that was the second year. But then I've also got the translucent Nintendo playing cards. But man, I wish it would do something like that statue again. I thought that was such a cool.
Statue was cool. It came
inclusion.
in a little a box that had the question mark.
Yes,
on it. Oh, it was so
it was
cool.
amazing.
And that's something I think. I think that it gives an incentive to buy the game. Like it's something that will bring the customer to the store, or even to download the game. Like even if they're just sitting at home and they want to download it, it gives the customer some type of incentive to play. And I don't think anybody else has that. I mean,
No. I mean, Xbox has a reward program that I don't think is really great. It's something like you get pennies on the $100 for every time that you buy an Xbox game and rate it on the website or download or do certain things.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's kind of a joke. And the closest thing that PlayStation's kind of given us is just the PlayStation Plus program, where as long as you're subscribing, they do have a good list of games that they're offering on a regular basis. But Nintendo, man, that Club Nintendo program just can't be beat. Like, it was always a great way to reward the fans. And honestly, like, as often as the store changed with what was available, I don't know that this was really setting them back any. So I don't understand.
Somebody decided it was, apparently.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
I
they're
will
trying to
say
cut
this
costs.
though. I want one of those gold numchucks. I'm a huge.
Oh
Legends
my
Zelda
goodness,
fan.
yes.
Anybody out there that has a gold nunchuck, hit me up on Twitter.
There you go, yeah. So I missed my chance for one of those too, but they look absolutely incredible.
Oh man.
So were those available in the States? Were they just available?
I think they were available.
Okay.
Yeah.
So such a great prize. So that's kind of all the news that we had planned. Another thing I want to mention, a couple of things that have come up this week, is that, first of all, my brother and I are big Trekkies. Jay, I think you enjoyed the movies, but you don't have like the back.
movies, but yeah.
So, Star Trek 3 has had quite the production. They have a target date that they need to hit in 2016. 2016 marks the 50th anniversary of Star Trek.
Yep.
So they want to get a movie out by that date sometime in that summer. And J.J. Abrams started Star Trek in 2009, kind of gave it a reboot. Fans would all agree that movie was pretty good.
Yes.
It was
probably the best of the two.
It was best of the best of the JJ films for sure. It was definitely more Star Wars than it was Star Trek, but it was very refreshing. And they do things in that movie like blow up the planet Vulcan. And as a Trekkie, I walked out of the movie not being like completely upset or shocked or whatever. I think everything was handled really, really well.
Yeah.
Then we got Star Trek Into Darkness, which was a very much a mixed bag film. It opened with Indiana Jones Star Trek, and then as you're going through, you've got a guy who may or may not be Khan, but totally is Khan. And they tried to do Star Trek, the episode of Star Trek called Space Seed, where we first meet Khan, and then the movie Wrath of Khan, without really having the build up to that moment or having the earned friendship between the characters, so it meant something when somebody was in peril. And then the whole last act of the movie was just complete. They thought fan service. Abrams and Orci and Alex Kurtzman, they thought they were giving us fan service, but it really just seemed forced and unnecessary. And I'm sorry, but if you're watching Star Trek 2 and believe for a minute that they're killing Captain Kirk in the second film in a trilogy, yeah, right. I mean, it took the dramatic weight out of that scene. So I wasn't as happy with the second Star Trek film. It does have its moments. I like a lot of what Scotty did throughout the movie. I thought he actually had the most heart of anyone in the film. And now with Star Trek 3, they lost their director, J.J. Abrams, because he jumped shit for Star Wars, which is what he really wanted to direct it all along.
And then they lost their other director.
So then they lost, Roberto Orci was then on to write and direct the movie. He had written the first 2 films. He wrote the Transformers movies. He's done a lot of other films out there, too. I'm forgetting what they are right now, but he was kind of an interesting choice because he'd never actually directed anything before. And, but, I was kind of worried about what he was going to do, too, because after the second film, I really wasn't happy with the Abrams camp, and I especially wasn't happy that Abrams basically dumped us for the prettier girl at the dance. I mean, he always wanted to do Star Wars. He couldn't do Star Wars, so he did Star Trek. Then suddenly Star Wars becomes available, and he's like, I'm out.
Yep.
So that's basically what he did. So with the third Star Trek movie, we got a deadline. We've got to make it. We lost our writer and our director in December. They announced that Justin Lin's directing. Now, Justin Lin is mostly known for his Fast and the Furious movies. I believe he has some horror background, too. I can't remember the name of the horror film that he did, but he, I believe, started with Tokyo Drift, and then he did, I think, Fast 5 and Fast 6, and he may have done Fast and Furious, which was the 4th film. But now he's on board to direct Star Trek 3, or whatever it ends up being called. He's a great director at what he does, I think. I really enjoyed the Fast films, the ones that he did. I think, honestly, the first 2 Fast and the Furious films are not that great. They're very much of their era, which was the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But as you move forward and they become less about racing and more about heist and action, I think that they're very fun popcorn movies. Not really what I'm looking for in a Star Trek movie.
Yeah. But they want Guardians of the Galaxy.
And that's another problem, too. We
Yeah.
have since seen the notes come out that they want Star Trek to be more like Guardians of the Galaxy because that was a hit. And they want Keenser, the little short guy who doesn't speak, mind you, cannot say a word. He just kind of grunts and moves. He talks with Scotty a lot. They want him to be more front and center in the movies. And Paramount seems to be missing the point. I'm really concerned about what the future of this franchise has in store for it when Star Trek is typically about ideas, about politics. I'll say it's about religion, but not really religion as we know it, just religion of the races in the universe.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's more to it. It's not whiz-bang action. It's got allegories and it means something, and it's all about the family of these guys that are on this journey. And that's another problem with the Abrams films, is that they've been stuck on Earth for the first 2 movies. So now, anyway, so back to what we're saying with Orci. He was on, he's off. Now we got Justin Lin directing, who's a very good action movie popcorn flick director. But we lost Orci as the writer, and then we just found out this week, or even in the last 2 days, that they have completely, more or less, scrapped the script that Orci wrote for Star Trek 3. Now, they are going to have Simon Pegg actually write, at least co-write or mostly write Star Trek 3. And I kind of wanted to get your guys' thoughts on this. Simon Pegg, I think, has been a great Scotty. I honestly think he was the highlight of Star Trek Into Darkness.
Yeah.
I think that the Cornetto trilogy that he did with Edgar Wright, with Hot Fuzz, and with Shaun of the Dead, The World Ends, he's done some great work. He also apparently co-wrote the movie Paul with Nick Frost. He's got credit. He's got the ability to write. And he genuinely loves Star Trek. He's been a big fan. I mean, if you watch the BBC show Spaced, you can tell this guy knows his science fiction. So I like the idea that he's involved, and it also gives me a little bit more optimism about the movie now.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things that we're going to have to deal with the new Star Trek movie is having to maintain the vision that Abrams originally set up, which is kind of a drag, I think. But I'm hoping with Simon Pegg involved, we get a film that's got a lot of heart, because anyone knows he's probably had the most heart of anyone in Star Trek 2, and he was definitely one of the more fun characters in the 2009 Star Trek film. I'm hoping we finally get one of those films that gives us the message we want, or gives us the adventure we want, and gets us away from the planet Earth.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, these guys are supposed to be on a 5-year mission, especially at the end of number 2, out exploring the galaxy.
Yeah.
And we can do another show at some point talking about what we'd like to see in Star Trek 3. But basically, what do you think about the state of Star Trek? What do you think about Simon Pegg being on, Greg?
Very excited to see what Simon Pegg does with the series. And I hope that he gets the ability to focus more on what's important to Star Trek. I think Into Darkness was a great first half of a movie and a not great second half of a movie.
Yeah.
So I hope that he doesn't I've always wondered if what happened with that movie was they came up with this great idea, and then either Abrams or the producers were like, now make it Khan, and suddenly
Yes.
John Harrison became Khan and all that. I mean, that may not be the case, but it kind of feels that way when you watch the movie. So I really hope that they get to focus on a story that they want to tell and not what somebody else wants them to tell.
So you are optimistic.
Yes.
All
Absolutely.
right. And Jay, as somebody who, is it safe to say you kind of jumped on board with Star Trek with the Abrams films?
Watched a little Star Trek, actually with my mom.
Oh, really? Okay. We did too.
When I was little. Watched a little Star Trek. Love Picard.
Okay. Yeah, man.
That's my dude.
Hey, I'm next generation all the way.
Yeah.
They could bring Picard into the JJ movies. That would not bother me.
Yeah.
They're not even JJ movies anymore.
But I haven't watched the original series. But definitely with the refresh, that kind of sparked me back into Star Trek and watching that. Loved the first movie. Thought it was amazing. Thought like the whole refresh of the story was really cool. Getting to see Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah, I mean, that was great in that first movie, yeah.
But then, the second one, I totally agree. Great first half. Had me on the edge of my seat. I was like, yeah, well, okay, where are we going to go with this? And then, really, that's Khan.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I actually saw the Wrath of Khan in theaters with my little brother and his dad.
Okay.
So I'm good with the Khan series, and I know enough about that. But yeah, I was kind of let down.
Yeah.
I mean, even the action sequences at times you're just like, really?
Yeah. A lot of people complain the little going through space, the asteroid field is just a rehash of the first movie with the dive. On the,
Yep. So but I am hopeful for Star Trek 3. Very, very looking forward to that. I love Simon Pegg. He cracks me up, and I think he's gonna have a fresh take on everything. Maybe he can pull a little bit out of what J.J. Abrams did, but still kind of give it his own flavor, which I'm excited for. So.
And for anyone out there thinking that this film's got to be out basically 18 months from now. So they need to basically rewrite the whole thing, film it, and get it out. Scripts can be written pretty quickly. Cabin in the Woods, which I thought was a phenomenal horror film with a great twist, was written by Joss Whedon and his buddies in a weekend. I think the famous story is that they went to Las Vegas or something, and they went in a hotel room, and they stayed there the entire weekend, and they wrote the movie, and that's more or less how it was shot. So you can write a really good movie if you just sit down and do it. So I'm optimistic, and I hope that Simon Pegg gets us back on track.
Cool. Absolutely.
All right, so with the news out of the way, let's go ahead and just kind of touch on real quick what we've been gaming lately. Greg, let's go ahead and start with you. You can talk about console, PC, handheld, whatever it is. Mobile.
Mostly these days I've been working some more with Disney Infinity, trying to find out new stuff. I've also been writing some articles for it for a website, so that's been my primary game of the past, few weeks.
Okay. Okay. And you will see the link to Greg's walkthroughs he does for Disney Infinity. I'll have them in the links below this video, and I'll even put an annotation up on the screen if you guys want to click and see what that's about. For myself, what I've been gaming lately is on Wii U. I'm still playing Captain Toad, still trying to get 100% in all those levels. I actually really, really enjoy that game. I'm playing Smash Brothers when I have time for it with Greg here. And on mobile, man, I never thought I would be a mobile gamer, but Marvel Puzzle Quest and Marvel Champion of Heroes, I've been playing those games like non-stop. I mean, I haven't really put any money into them, a little bit into Puzzle Quest, but nothing into the Champions. And I'm just waiting for the refresh. I check my game, I play it till I'm out of energy, and then I come back in an hour, 15 minutes, whatever.
It's like Marvel Pokemon.
It's basically Marvel Pokemon. I'm hooked on that. So that's kind of what I've been playing lately. Jay?
Mobile, you got me into Puzzle Quest. All right. It's a very good game, actually. I played Puzzle Quest on DS when it first came out.
Oh, yeah,
I'm enjoying that. Playing Destiny with a lot of friends online there. Went back, actually started playing Batman Arkham Asylum. Going to play Batman Arkham City.
Nice.
To get ready for Batman Arkham Knight. So I'm very excited about that. And then
Skipping Origins.
Yeah, I'm skipping Origins. I actually just got done playing that in September, so I'm going back to refresh the story again.
You can consider that the first one.
Yeah.
No. And then I am actually on handheld. I'm on my DS. I'm playing Pokemon Alpha Sapphire.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So I'm still playing that, and then just downloaded Duke Nukem
for
Vita. So I'm rolling through that right now.
There you go. Very good. Very good. Well, your Arkham talk kind of gives me our lead into our next topic here. Let's go ahead and cover what was most anticipated for us for 2015. Basically, we had the year rolling out. I'll start with myself. Being the toy reviewer, the toy collector that I am, I'm super excited for Marvel Legends. We've seen now Wave 1 and Wave 2 of the Marvel Legends Avengers series, which have also given us a look at the costumes for Avengers Age of Ultron 2. I'm a big fan of the Mark 43 armor, and I think it's awesome that the Iron Man figure, the first time Marvel Legends has done this, has an Iron Man coming out with an interchangeable head that has Tony Stark with his mask flipped up. So it's Robert Downey in the face with the Iron Man helmet still on. So I think that's pretty cool. But I'm also looking forward to Arkham Knight. I would like to have a chance to be able to play that game this year. I think that's going to be really great. I'm looking forward to the second half of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2 because with where they've left off, the Inhumans are here, guys. I mean, the movie may not be until like 2018, but the Inhumans are here on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so that's going to be very interesting to see how far the show goes with it and how Marvel kind of does that movie, knowing that there's potentially by that point going to be 4 years of Inhuman story that's already out there that maybe people haven't watched. I'm very curious to see how that plays out, but I'm very excited about that show. And then finally, this year, guys, is Marvel on Netflix. So we are going to have, before the year's over, we're going to have Daredevil, which I believe starts in, is it April or May? I can't remember. And then at the end of the year, I believe the next show is Luke Cage or a.k.a. Jessica Jones. I don't think Iron Fist is coming out yet. So it'd probably be a.k.a. Jessica Jones first with Luke Cage featured, and then we'll get Luke Cage probably next year. So that's the stuff that I'm really looking forward to this year. What are you looking forward to, Greg?
Well, I think you got the shows covered pretty well, but one thing that we didn't mention in the news that I'm kind of looking forward to is that Elder Scrolls Online, they just announced taking away that subscription fee, finally.
Free to play.
So, yeah, eventually I'll have to, I think it's March when that's coming around, so I'm going to have to pick that up and try it out at some point, I think.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. And Jay?
Definitely Arkham Knight. Uncharted 4.
Oh, yes.
Looking forward to that on PlayStation. Halo 5, Guardians, looks really good.
That's the one where Chief's in the cloak, right?
Yes. Chief is in the cloak. For what reason, we don't know. But that looks good. And then in comic books, definitely looking forward to Secret Wars.
Oh, yes.
Still looking forward to reading the rest of the Star Wars series. It's going to be great. I think movies, Ant-Man. I don't know anyone I'm going to go see that with yet. So, definitely looking forward to that. And then I think you covered TV shows, definitely Daredevil.
Oh my god, that's
Daredevil
gonna be awesome.
Netflix. I'm gonna be watching stuff.
Yeah. So, well, guys, that's our first show. So I hope you like what you saw here. Please feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you're not already watching. If you like this show, let us know in the comments what you liked about the show or what kind of your thoughts on what we talked about already. Plus, you can definitely hit us up on Twitter. I'm D21Beast at Twitter. You can catch Greg at
Yoshimitsu47
and Jay at
Big Nice 33.
All right, guys. So we'll be accessible if you want to hit us up. We'd like to interact with the people who like the show. We're going to try to make this a weekly thing. So hopefully you like what you see here. We're still working on a name for the show. So if you guys want to throw something at us, maybe we can come up with a name for the show. But